We are live. Don't know if I'm in the picture or not, but we'll see if we're going live yet. I know at least the camera's on. Here we are. Okay. One of the things I'd like you guys to do is, I think you can hear me okay. One of the things I'd like you guys to do is, let me turn down this volume. There we go. Okay. So, is anybody on here? Okay. Now I got you guys on the big screen and on the little screen. So, let me get this turned around here and we'll be ready to go. Okay. Hello. Well, there you go. You can see I've got my apron on today, and I've got a new microphone, which I hope is going to be working well for you guys. Hi, Mike. Glad to have you here. We'll try and get through these quick so we can also go to your live afterwards, to Whacking Shack's live afterwards. Hey, LJ. So I've got a few things to go through today, but I did want to start with a couple of little tips and tricks. And what I've seen lately on a few people that are turning, now I'll try and stay in the screen here as best I can. I can't really see my thing. Okay, so one of the things that I see guys doing is they will use a chuck and they are turning, and then things are getting a little wobbly and they can't figure out why it's not fitting. Well, one of the reasons it's not fitting is because they haven't checked these lately. Sometimes these get a little loose too, and if you don't make sure they are tightened down, your jaws could wobbling problem or why something comes flying off. So every once in a while, it doesn't hurt. Just go around, make sure your jaws are on tight. It's like everything else. You kind of have to go around and do some general maintenance every time you turn, really, just to kind of make sure things are cleaned up, make sure that your bearings are cleaned out. You should about once every couple of weeks, at least you should be taking this, opening it up, cleaning out the shaft inside because dust gets in there, all that kind of stuff. Because it's just the same things you do with your car. You want to maintain your equipment if you want to have a long life out of it. I mean, look, even my problem, there's still a few things floating around in here. So I need to make sure I take care of my stuff too. So that's number one. So what I thought I'd do today is we'd start with Son of Burl Bowl. And this one, what I did is I got a nice circle cut on it. I'll show you. My wife used to be a baker, and you can get these almost anywhere. If you go into any bakery, you could probably get a couple of these. They come in different sizes, and they are great for making circle diagrams on your wood, and cheap, basically free. Just make sure you put a hole in the middle, set this on it, and you can exactly mark where your circle is, and you can actually do an outline for your pencil. Don't have to use any fancy equipment, just a pencil and a square board, and then go over to your bandsaw or whatever you're using and try and cut it down to where it's very reasonably circular. And as you see in this case, there's still a couple pencil marks here. I got as close as I could. I do know one thing about this. When I was screwing these in, a couple of screws would not go in. I had to drill extra. There's something really hard in the middle of this bowl. I'm a little afraid to find out what it is, but we're going to find out together, and hopefully it's not a rock or something in there or something that's going to come flying out. But nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Okay. Let me see what we're doing over here. Hello, guys. Anwar and Amin and Mike. Okay, so let's get started. Please do hit the like button if you can. It helps the channel. Okay. Safety first. We will have the helmet on. We don't know what's flying. I'm going to start with the big boy here. And I'm going to go, what I want to do on this one is I want to do a curve and then another curve here. And we're going to kind of try and do an undercut on the inside and kind of do sort of a hollowing out bowl, not completely, but doing a hollow out bowl with burl is very tricky, but what the heck, let's give it a try. So I was setting my bottom here. And I got to tell you, chips fly everywhere when you're doing burl because you don't ever really get a good curl. As you can see here, you get a little curl and then it gets to the end of that little bit of wood because there's a hole. And so you get very small curls and an awful lot of dust and dirt. So it's just something you put up with. We're dealing with a really beautiful piece of wood. Okay. I'm going to come around the side here a little bit. See if we can't get the shape going. About like so. I think I'll try and bring you guys out here with me just a little bit if I can. You can kind of see this part. There. Let's see if we can do this, okay? Yeah, now I want to start. And just that quickly, I am now covered in dust. I'll turn this off just a little bit. Get a little better angle on it here. Boy, that is loud. I hope the microphone's not killing you guys when I do this. I'm doing a little draw here towards the middle. I'll leave the middle pretty clean and then go back down the other side. Just get the shape going here. And now I got what looks sort of like a small wheelbarrow tire shape. I guess if I ever blow up my wheelbarrow and don't have a spare, I could always make one for myself with wood. That's what Mims would do, right? Mike is making stuff. He does that kind of thing all the time, so I wouldn't be surprised if he would do something like that. All right, we got the general shape. I think I'm going to go to a sort of a scraper here and see if we can't smooth that out just a little bit. Okay. I might need to work on that burr just a little bit. Let me see here. See if I can get that burr a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah, it might be time to put that one back on. All right, we'll retire that one for the moment, but I've got spares. Try this one, a little different angle on it. There we go. There we go. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking at the top here all the time because that's where I can see the actual angle, and I can see if there's any little high spots. And I can work them out before we move on. Okay, so let's see what this looks like in real life. Well, that's looking pretty nice. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see if I can raise this up a little bit and you can get a different view. There. Is that a little better view, guys? What do you think of that? Yeah, Wilson. Well, sometimes you have to do things by hand. You can't just, you got to go with what you got. So, hey, Carrie. Hi, guys. Thank you all for coming. All right. So, does that look pretty good? All right. So, let's go back to, we need to get, and I'm going to do a mortise for this one like I did with the one before. And again, like we talked about last time, sorry. As we talked about last time, I like to have the mortise inset just a little bit so it's actually going into all the wood. This is, after all, a rather unstable piece of wood we're working with here. And we want to make sure it's going to work for us, not against us. So I'm going to kind of do a preliminary mark. And I have these set already for my chuck, so that makes it a little bit easier for me. Let's see if we can get in here. This is really, really hard. This oak. You can hear it. I'm going kind of slow because I don't want to overshoot my mark where I want to be with this. Okay. Now let's see. I can find. Oh. Well, the problem with having a lot of tools is you can't always find the tool you want when you need it. You have to go through all the others. Here we go. This will give me a nice flat bottom. dovetail inside here. Let me go up and spin speed now. We don't need a really deep cut. We just need to have a nice smooth one. Otherwise, it will not hold properly. Let's see how this is doing. Okay, let me get my chuck. Yeah, that'll fit right in there. Now, I was using this chuck. I think I'll use this one. And the reason is, this is an Overtook. This one is smooth on the outside, so it doesn't have as much gripping power as this one. It's a one-way. And it has just a little bit of a grip on here. And that little grip will help hold it just a little bit. And I just want to make sure that's nice and smooth and flat on the bottom so that it's even all the way around. So that's all I need to make that check here. There we go. We're not going to have a very deep cut. Now, I am going to sand this out just a little bit. And there was a lot of comments last week about this. Some people really like this. Some thought it was kind of weird. I like it because I can hold it with both hands. And, as you get older and these things get heavy, or if you're doing sanding for like a half an hour to get something really looking good, then this is the thing you want. You don't push down on the sandpaper. You let the sandpaper glide over it so the sandpaper is just making contact and just knocking off the parts that you want to knock off here. If you start pushing it in, you're going to start getting digs. Let's see. Oh, there we go. After Ryan talking about my light this morning, I forgot to turn my light on. So, shame on me. We'll try and get that out of the way a little bit. There you guys go. Okay. So, in there, this is looking nice. Got a little end spot right there. Now's the time to get it when you're using the heavier grit. Oh, that got loose. There you go. Get it now. Don't have to worry about it later. Okay. It's interesting. Oh, there you go. There. We'll get a couple more grits on that. What do you guys think? Well, Ryan's driving. Okay, well, be careful. I was driving back from Oregon a week or so ago. Everybody thought it was bumper cars instead of driving cars. Everybody wanted to be in a lane other than the lane that they were in. And by golly, they didn't care if you were in it or not. You sometimes have to really be careful when you're driving out there. Let's see if we can get a little speed up on this. All right. And I'll flip on since we're getting a little bit finer dust now, I'll flip this on for a second. Pardon my noise. And let's see if we can make all the guys that don't have reverse drive, make them a little jealous. What you can do with a reverse drive is you can actually go in both directions in your sanding. It must be really nice and handy sometimes to pick up. Look how much is coming off there. Alright. We'll take another look at this. Take it back around. Looking pretty smooth to my eye. One of the nice things about getting older is your eyesight goes a little bit, you don't notice little flaws, but as much as you did when you were younger, and you just kind of go with it. I don't want to get scratch marks going across here. So the way to do that is to counter it by going back and forth. One of the advantages of using a drill, in a spinning sanding like this is you don't get the same marks as you do when you're using your hand and using a piece of sandpaper in your hand, because your piece of paper in your hand will tend to leave some marks that you don't necessarily want. You don't have as much control, and you're not going in as many different directions. So this swirling kind of keeps it from making lines in your finish. So it really does help out. And I always try to get to any little end grain pieces. And the problem with burl is everything has an end grain. Everywhere there's a burl, there's an end grain to it. So you're kind of having to fight end grain all the way around the turn. There's that right there that was coming out. There we go. There, this is already getting nice and smooth. We'll go up one more. I don't know if we'll need to go too much further on this. It's really getting a nice finish on it. Turn this on. There we go. And you don't want to move this too fast across, or you're just kind of doing a scrape like that and a scrape like this, and you're not really getting the whole surface. So make sure that you kind of take your time when you're going back and forth. You get a few revolutions on any bit of the wood. A lot of guys I see will go too fast on this, and it gets away from you. You know, turning is only part of the job. And quite honestly, it's taken me years, and I'm still not great at it, to really learn how to finish a piece of wood. I mean, you can finish it, but there's finishing and then there's really finishing. And when you go to some of these turning shows, or like the turning group that Ryan and I belong to, you go there and you see some absolutely fabulous finishes from guys that have, there's 80 years old or more, and they've been doing this a long time, and they just know how to really get a smooth finish. And most of it is patience. You've got to be willing to do the sanding and the patience. It's kind of like, there's good paint jobs and then there's great paint jobs, and the great paint jobs are the guys that spend extra time setting up and doing all the taping and slow with their brush strokes and so forth. And that's what really makes the difference between a professional job and the job that we do on a Saturday in a couple of hours. So kind of consider that when you're doing these turnings. Don't rush to the finish line. Yes, you got it turned, but that's only the first half of the job. I've seen some guys spend 2 hours sanding a piece after they've turned it, just to get that right shape, to take out any little nips or any flaws that they may have missed. Okay, so just a word to the wise as you're learning the process, as you're doing this. And I'm sure some of the other guys on here will tell you the same thing. It's learning to be patient, to draw out the best in the piece of wood that you're trying to turn. A lot of guys don't get all the way to the bottom of the bowl because they're so busy trying to just get it done because they thought the outside looked great, and they don't take enough care of the inside of a piece of wood. Take a second here. 173 people, that's pretty good. I'd like to see some more likes if you could, though, guys. If you have the time, it doesn't cost anything to say you like it. And if you really don't like it, then that's fine too. But But if you like what I'm doing and are enjoying watching this, please hit the like button for me. I do appreciate it. Okay, so we've done that. Let's just do this just for fun here. It's not going to be the full finish right now. I just want to kind of see what we're looking at here. And as you, those of you that watched before will know, this is my tung oil finish that I make myself. I don't sell it, it's just for me. I'm not pushing anything here. I'm just saying it's what I like to make. It's something I've been using for a long time. And there are some other great finishes. I know I want to try the one that Ryan had today, which is made with the beeswax. And I really want to maybe give that a shot. And I've got some tried and true here that I've been wanting to use also. So there's other good commercial ones, but this is just one that I started. What do you think of this? Now, what do you think of the look on that? Nice thing about this is I mix it with a little bit of a what they call lemon-sine, which is a citrus oil. So it smells really, really good. And that actually helps when you're selling something too. If you have something that has a nice aroma to it, that also helps in the selling process. So here we go. You can kind of see what we're looking at so far. And this will soak in, and this will look dry again, well, relatively dry again, pretty quickly. But this will also start to strengthen this wood, especially the wood that I'm going to be using to hold my chuck on. So that always makes me a little happy, because anything that will make that wood stronger, especially on a burl, is time well spent and money well spent. Okay, and I'm going to go on the very inside of this just to strengthen up that a little bit too. Sometimes I'll use, like I said, I use a CA glue in there. I'll take a little bit of CA glue and brush it in there to kind of strengthen. If I think it's kind of weak wood or punky wood, I had to do that with I was doing a 15-inch black walnut bowl a couple years ago, and I had to do everything I could to make sure that thing held on, because at 15 inches, that's a lot of spinning wood, and I sure didn't want to lose it, because it's also a pretty expensive piece of wood. So there you go. I just kind of let that sit there for a second. See if I can get you a different view of that. I don't know. Looking good so far? Okay. Oops. Okay. So let's spin it up a little bit. That kind of helps it dry off just a little bit. Nice and shiny at the moment. Yeah, I got a couple little pieces, little drips on me, but it's not bad. Okay, while that's drying for a second, see what we got going here. It is pretty. Thank you, Carrie. Let's see. Thank you, Michael, for checking some of the things we're going in here. And hi, Jack. This is a oak burl. It was about a 30-pound piece of oak burl that I had. I have two of them. This is just the first one I've been doing the last couple weeks, and I'll probably do some more later on, but not right away. We got some other woods to do. We got some cork oak, and we've got some walnut and some other things to turn. And I'm hoping to do a piece of cypress later today too. So we'll probably do the cypress next. And that one would come out really nice. This is a small piece, just so you can see. This is a small piece of cypress. I have a little bit bigger piece. It comes out, it has a lot of figuring to it, and it has a lot of color. What we're going to do with this one is we're going to try and use that very, very, very small mortise and see if we can get it to hold while I do this very hard wood and see if we can prove a point. May not. I may just maybe fall flat on my face, but my point is you do not need to dig a deep mortise to have a good hold if you do it properly. So that's been sitting for a week or so. If there's any changes to it, I'll have to deal with it, but that's what we're working with. So okay, I'm going to give this just a quick little wipe down here. There we go. And that's the first coat. And there'll be several more coats later, but that's the first coat, and it's, boy, is that smooth feeling. Whoa, feels like a bald man's head. Anyway, so we're gonna take this off, and again, as I often say, little rubber gasket here. You'll see it in one of my other videos. A little rubber gasket here makes this a lot easier to take off so it doesn't stick. Get my drill. There we go. And we're going to take this off and see how stupid I was. Okay? Or smart. We'll see. Okay. Oops. You're wondering why I have this my little bandies on my thumb. It's specifically because of this. I was putting these on and the drill came off and took a chunk right out of the middle of my thumb. I couldn't get it to stop bleeding, so I had to cover it up, and then I had to put a tape on it just to keep it from falling off. So don't worry, I'm not injured or anything, really. Kind of comes with the territory. It's funny, most people worry about wood turning because a piece of wood's going to hit you, and it's usually one of the other pieces of equipment that hurts you first. I've had fingers almost detached with a bandsaw. I've had a lot of things happen to me. It had nothing to do with the actual turning of the wood piece. So, and I'm not generally accident prone, but sometimes, things just happen. Okay, so we'll check up my old one-way chuck here, and we'll see. And get the right tool here. Pretty good. All right. The biggest key with tenons is make sure that bottom is flat. Everything is flat. It sits evenly. There we go. And this is still going to have a little wobble to its mass because there's voids in here. It's going to be light in some areas and thick and hard in the other areas. And as it comes around, those things are going to take some of the inertia. And we don't need to get into physics here, but that's basically what happens. So, and it starts to wang and wobble just a little bit. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to want to make this somewhat of a cupped inside. So let's kind of establish where we want that to be. Have that going right at you. Okay, now I'm going to stop because we've just done our initial little turning, and I want to make sure that everything is staying nice and tight and in place. Also, a little bit of that stuff that I put, a little of that linseed oil I put in, or tung oil I put in there, is starting to blow out a little bit on in some of the nooks and crannies, which is fine. I just don't want to hurt the finish later. Okay, so what do we think? I'm going to have to smooth this out just a hair, no matter what I do, because it's rough. All right. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, because of the cut marks and stuff when it was from when this was originally cut by the chainsaw, so I want to make sure that we get that nice and smooth on the edge. Okay. All right. Now let's get in here. I think I'm going to lower this just slightly. There we go. Well, there is something hard in there. One of the things that often happens, especially with newbies, is they'll start turning in here and they'll get down here and they'll try to take too much off at one time. If it's starting to give you any resistance, go back and just take off a little bit. And go back and get a little bit more. And then get a little bit more. Because when you start forcing the tool into the turn, what'll happen is you'll catch and you can ruin the mortise on here. So, okay. And I said we're going to need to undercut. I need to get down here enough to do that. Okay, see how solid we are in here. Yeah, it's turning solid, but look at this. It's some big holes, and that's what I'm afraid of when I'm going through. I don't want to accidentally snag that with my tool. So, what do you think, guys? Dig in there a little bit deeper. Okay, we're going to go in. Just wanted to take a look. Looks like my hold is still good. All right. Thank you all for being here, and if you can, please hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. It does help the channel grow. And the main point of this channel is I call it a 2-minute tips to provide tips on general woodworking, but also on turning. I don't top of this. It's not for any kind of self-gratification at this point. I just like doing it. But I get a lot of people asking me questions about things, and I've been around long enough to learn a few of them, and so I figure it's better to pass them along. So that's what I do. I try to pass all this information along and save you the same having to go through some of the things I had to go through to learn it. And I'm not into pushing a lot of people's tools, but I will tell you if I get a tool that I really like, with that, that's just being honest with the people you talk to. You'll notice I have a very light touch. I'm just holding this down. I'm not pressing down on it. You don't have to tense up. Just have your hand on there to hold it down. And you can see how hard this wood is, because it doesn't like to turn. Okay. Alrighty. So, the question always comes up, how do we get into that underneath part? Well, there is a tool for that. And if I can find it here, I will show you. I'll have to, let's see where they put that. Here it is. It was there. Okay, so gooseneck. Gooseneck helps you get underneath the ridge, but you do have to be careful how you apply it. Boy, that is really rough under there. I said I was going to, look at this. I said I was going to try undercut with this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. Look, you can see, now this is a little bit of punky. I could take that out with my finger, and it goes really hard stuff. So, let me rethink how I can maybe get in there a little bit. Let me try a scraper for a minute, just to see if I can get in there all with that. Well, that got in there a little bit better, but it's barely in there. All that turning, I'm only in there about yay much. So I'm not sure. I might have to bring this out further and then try and do it. That's the only thing I can think of doing right now. So we won't have a completely hollowed bowl. We will have to clean this out just a little bit. Make sure my hold is good here. I found that pump right here. I'm a little bit just punky wood. I can take out with my finger now. And I hope it doesn't go too far through. Give that just go rest for a second here. It does have a lot of contrast. You're right. Ooh. Sorry, I just hit a button and lost my picture here for a second. Bear with me. Just a second. There we go. Sorry about that. I had lost my connection there for a second. But okay, so trying to get in here, and this is going to be kind of hard. There's some stuff in the way here. I don't know if I can dig in there deep enough, but we'll give it a. Man, even at this speed, it's really rough. feels really wonky in there. I want to see what's going on. Oh, okay, look at this. I don't know if you can see here. This has now gone right into the center. So now I'm cutting all of this. I'm hoping that it ends right about there, and I'll get back to smooth before I go through the bottom of the bowl, because we're getting kind of near that point. So let me see what I can do about taking this. In fact, I think I might use a scraper on this part. Just what might be cool. In fact, I might need to use the bigger one. Smaller ones, maybe not going to handle that enough. Hey, look at that. Can you see in there? See in there. Get that just a little bit. Oops, sorry. There we go. This here is really getting pretty bad. Get you back up here out of the bit. There we go. Let's see. I think it was Ben. I'm not sure who it was, but I think it was 2 millimeters. And I'm not sure I can do that on this one. There might be nothing left but dust if I go that thin. But we'll see what I can do. Okay. You got my promise. I'll at least attempt to make it somewhat thinner. At least we're getting the contour. Yeah, scraper can be a powerful tool. A little bit less here, so maybe you are going to get to a hard part. I don't. The bottom, it is more solid there, but not all the way through. I just don't know. Use a negative rake scraper here, see if I can get a little out of that in the bottom. Finishing, I just wanted to see if I could get that edge down a little bit. You see, I'm able to look down over here to see what it's doing inside here. So I use that as my guide. That's working a little bit. Yeah, that puff of smoke, that puff of dust means I probably hit that punky stuff that I was trying to get out of there. Yeah, look how dusty, how fine dusty that is now. Okay, so now I got kind of a pivot going down here. Now I got to kind of get it. That, take that out. Go back to the small one. Yeah, I just had a chunk come off and hit me here. I think it's off this lip. Yep, yep. And that's gonna happen. I just gonna be part of it. There's nothing you can do. Still trying to work that out a little bit. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna stop being so aggressive with this. See what we've got. See how far down we got to go. Well, I'm that thick from the edge, so I've really got to come in some. Down here, maybe about a half an inch to the edge, so I got to go down at least another quarter inch down. Don't know if I can use this or not. Let's see. Well, that took care of the bottom part. Now you need to get that cleaned out. Yep, I'm being a little aggressive, but I wanted to see how much you can take. You can take quite a bit. This is hard oak, and it's taking everything out of my tools. I can tell you that because these aren't even. See if I can even. I'm not even sure I can even bring the edge back on this. Okay. We'll see if we can do it. I don't know. I can get a burr on there. A little bit. Okay, let's see. We'll go back to the gooseneck, see if we can get some more use out of it now. A little bit. It's starting to. Wow, look at this. I don't know if you guys can see this. This is all really breakout stuff here. So you have to be really careful here towards the end. Just to a finish. Let's see if we can do it to a finish. Okay. Okay. We persuaded it a little bit. And let's see what we can do with this. That's weird. There we go. That's a good spool. Okay, let's see. We're actually getting a kind of a hollow shape. It's now about that thick. I don't know how much more I want to be able to do, but I'll do a little bit more. I think we're down to the bottom as much as we need to be. Just a matter of turning out this inside a little bit. Ooh. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm sorry. My fault entirely. My fault entirely. I'm sorry, but I did not see that. I wasn't looking up. As you can see, it's still attached. Keeps doing that. I'm going to have to tighten this somehow. Let me see. There. Guess all the moving around and gyrations has caused it to loosen up on me here. There we go. I apologize for that. I know it feels like you're on a roller coaster. I think we're going to call this done. Because I don't think I can go any further in there. Yeah, we're now like this, so we're good. We'll sand that out. Move on to the next project here. Okay, let me catch up with you here just a little bit. I haven't seen anything new comments here in a few minutes, so hopefully you guys are all commenting. I appreciate all the likes, and hopefully people are still watching. And we'll keep on turning here. Okay. Okay, Matthew. Sticker there. At got a couple stickers here actually. If you see rocket sticker, here's my whacking shack sticker. And please patronize their places. They've been good friends with me. They've been with me from the start. There's also Timber Designs, and I know Michael usually puts up all the different guys on the site at some point. So let's get this sanded and check out some of the other guys on here. We're always looking for new people to join us. Okay. I'm going to turn this on for just a second to kind of get the dust going. I'll be really careful about that. Okay. We'll hit it with the next one. So this one took us a little bit over an hour. Not too bad, considering the kind of complexities we had to deal with on this one. In there, see too many tool marks in there. You're gonna like what it looks like when we get this little sanding sealer in there, or little. It's going to look really nice. And like last week, I had to go back and finish finishing it later offline, and I did post those pictures on a short. Now, for this one, because it does look very nice here for coats, but you got to let coats dry in between, and we don't have time to be live for 2 or 3 days while we let coats dry in between and resurface them and so forth. So I'll save that for a short late in the week, early next week, and you all can come back and just take a quick peek at it and tell me what you like or don't like about it. If you see one of my shorts, please give me a like on it. That's always helpful too. Okay, I'm going to do one One more on the inside. I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to turn that around and go forwards. Okay. And I think I said before, I really like these sanding. They protect the sides and get into those little corners a little bit better than the other ones do. And I just think they're worth the extra couple pennies to get that. So I'm going to have to use the vacuum on this, I think, to get some of the dust out of there. Let's see. Remotes are a wonderful thing. You don't want this in your finish. And boy, do we have a lot of oak dust, basically, to vacuum up here. Looks like 2 inches deep back here. Yes, I do know I'm going to be making more dust and chips, but it's nice to kind of get a little of it out of your way. It'll be clean. It's also a little bit safer to get some of that out of your way. Okay. Ugh. Yeah, I got the stuff down my back and everywhere else, even when you're wearing an apron. Okay, so let's put the finish on. It's off of here. So, kind of drench this out a little bit. Go near my brush, which, by the way, because you're using this tongue oil, you can use the same brush for months, actually. Certainly, not that this is an expensive brush. This is a Harbor Freight chip brush. Costs probably about 10 cents. But let's get a finish on there and let you guys see what this looks like. And they may need to go back and do a little sanding later, a little detail sanding as we go. But on the inside there, this will help strengthen up some of that punky wood. This is going to just suck this up because this is pretty dry wood. I'll use the excess here to just give the outside another quick coat. You can see it. And I'll take this off, look at it. Let's just see what you think. Okay, there we go. What do you think, guys? Is this a bowl worth keeping? Or is this a bowl for the burn pile? I think right now it's worth keeping. I kind of like that rustic outer rim on here. It kind of gives it a little look that I kind of like. So, what do you think? We'll set that aside. And we'll oops. There we go. On by about that much. Very, very, very little. Okay. Let's see what we can do with this. Just take a second here, just to take this off my head. Whew. What do you got on here? Okay. So, guys, I'm going to do this little cypress piece. Something to drink here. I'm going to do this little cypress piece, and this is just an experiment. So if it goes wrong, well, we learn something. If it goes right, we learn something. Okay. So, man, on it. All right, we're just making a pencil holder out of this. Really nothing fancy about it. It was mostly just because it was such a pretty little piece of wood, I didn't want to throw it away. Never like to throw anything away. We don't have to. So, let's see. I think we pretty much killed this one for now. Gonna have to sharpen this. We'll have to go to a different one. That oak took, gotta say, that cutter worked pretty good. Make all that oak without resharpening. Let's get this up to speed. Okay. Establish the outer edge. After looking at all that white and dark brown, it's kind of strange to see this red from the cypress. It also turns differently. So part of the issue here is you got to remind yourself when you go from one turning to another is what are you doing, right? You got to kind of relearn. Okay, let me see what I'm running into here. Ah, that's why it was banging. You see here, I got a branch piece in the middle of this piece of wood. It's coming from over here on the side. So I'm going to have this branch piece coming through all the way over here. So I have to be careful with that because that's a different hardness of wood. And that explains the inclusion on the outside. We're going to have to cut through that. That's interesting. Really hard in that center. Let's see where we are now. Now we're getting to the end of that. Okay. And when you're working with a gouge, where are you working with it? So, for instance, this into, which is really what you don't normally turn into end grain, but I just like the outside of the wood so much I wanted to keep it. So we're kind of going into end grain here, but what I'm doing, I'm kind of scooping and dropping the base, and I'm going up the side here, a good pointed attachment to the wood all the way through. Side. Anytime you drop your point below this, it's when you get a grab, and that's when your whole gouge or goes right out, flying out of your hands or across the room, or the bowl gouge, the bowl goes off, and there's just all sorts of trouble. So always make sure you know where you are in relation to the center point. Don't get mesmerized. It's easy to get mesmerized. That's when we do things like go down the side, go down too far low in the bottom of the bowl, and all of a sudden you're playing P. So and then you say, well, it's holding a watering pot or something. That's for the extra water to escape. I have more than a couple bowls in the house that are decorated, shall we say, with artificial flowers. Because you can't put anything else in them because you'd see the hole in the bottom of the bowl. So this way you still get the pretty of the outside, but you know it's not as functional as it would have been had I been paying. Now, see, you can do a scraping cut with a gouge. You can always do a scraping cut with a scraper, and probably get a little bit better result. And we can go pretty thin on this. great. Well, especially on an end grain piece like this. Okay, let's get back in there and get the bottom out of that. I don't know if I can get you down a little bit further so you can see in there a little bit more. Ooh, getting a little grabby. I got to be careful because I've got this right here. So I'm really close to that. I'm, in fact, I can almost touch. So I really can't go much thinner right in there. I maybe go thinner above it, but I can't go thinner below or down to it. I can do this though. I can still. Just smooth that out a bit. Make sure I didn't go through. Nope, still there. And I can go a little bit lower. I know I'm chancing it, but you know, you want to get as much out of the bowl as you can. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. We're negative rake here and maybe get down there more. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's nice and thin. There. Let's see what we got here. Put some of my toys away. If you can, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Really appreciate that. Okay, let's see what we got here. Like I said, you have this big piece here, so I can only go so deep or so far there. But I think we're pretty close to the bottom. This held this on really well with a very, very, very tiny mortise, which goes again to show you do not need to make deep mortises to make good turnings. Okay, yeah. This will be pretty fast. Yeah, I know. You say I could probably gone a little thinner, huh? It's always a challenge. But I think I got what I could out of this one. Okay. We'll do a little. I still got some on there from the last. Shake this up. Always shake up your stuff before you put it on, no matter what it is. Get into the habit of doing it, and it will serve you well at some point. When you go, oh crap, I only got the good stuff at the bottom, that's because you didn't shake up your bottle. So, some of that on. Put a little bit on the outside again. Man, probably most of you have some sort of cypress growing somewhere in your area of the country or whatever. They're pretty much everywhere. And now you can see what a piece looks like. It doesn't have to be a really big piece. This one was, well, pretty good sized. I mean, this was the other part of it. And I'll be doing that later on. But let's see, let this soak in just a second. I'll go back and wipe it out. We'll go on to the next one. Meanwhile, I'll catch up with you guys here a little bit. See what's going on. Hopefully y'all are writing something interesting. What is the dust? Oh, what is the dust from again? I did that twice now. I keep accidentally hitting my mouse and turning things off. There we go. What is the dust from? Well, and it's dusty because I'm going into end grain, so you're not getting nice curls. If you were going to side grain, you'd get really nice curls of wood in a lot of cases. Not so much on the oak burl, but in most cases you would get curls. And the reason you're not getting them here is because um, there's just end grain, so to speak. Okay. Um, let's see. Looks. Anybody got any questions? Now's the time to ask them. Michael or Ryan, are you still in there? I don't know. I can't see it on here anyway. I may have to go out and There we go. Okay, well, how to make a lid. Well, I don't really have anything set up for it, but let me see what I can do, Mike. Um, Being mindful of time here a little bit. Mike. You made a couple of really good lids on your last couple, and I really enjoyed watching it. You even put the little finial on it. I thought those were great. And any of you that are going to stick around, you should stick around and watch Mike's turning. He's going to do one right after we get done here. Let me get this wiped down. They're not my specialty, I got to say, Mike. They're not something that I do all the time. I probably should. I have enough bowls that could use a lid, and sometimes I've turned a separate lid afterwards because I had this bowl, and I don't normally do a whole lot of lids ahead of time on the wood. Let's see. Now you can see the inside. Okay, so let's take a look at this. See the red in there? What do you think of that? It's just saturated with red, isn't it? The outside is kind of this brown and tan, but that inside is just saturated in red. And it's a great thing for putting, I use it for putting some of so I put the little accessories in there every day, and then when it gets full, I dump it out. But there's a lot of things you can do with something like this. You can use it on your office. You can use it to hold pens. You can hold it to use it in your shop to hold some extra screws. I mean, you can use it for anything. Little things like this, they don't go for a whole lot of money, but they're fun to turn. And as you can see, it really didn't take us very long to turn it. And I'm going to set this aside to dry. And speaking of drying, I think this one's ready to be wiped a little bit because it's getting anything that didn't soak in is going to be excess and it will dry hard. And we don't want to do that. So we will wipe off any excess here. Got to do a little bit more on the outside here. But that came out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this one. You can see that. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do though, Mike, is I'm going to. There we go. To do this, little trick I did before. I attached. Now this is a piece of poplar, and I attached a faceplate to it, and glued it on. Hopefully the glue will hold because this is that oak, but it was very thin. All of this. So I thought maybe I would try and make a very shallow scalloped tray out of this, or bowl out of this, and then I'll just remove the glue and so forth on the back later, and we'll see what we can do. But I thought I'd give this a try. First thing I always want to do is hand spin everything around to make sure it's going to clear. There we go. Always. Okay. Let's put the headgear on. I'm going to try and shoot to get this all done before 5 o'clock, or 5 o'clock local time. That's 2 hours into our broadcast. We'll see how that goes. Let's see. I'm going to try and move it back. There we go. Okay, let's just see how that's going now. Okay, I got rid of most of the high spots. Now, what I need to do is go over here on the kind of round it out a little bit. It's got a couple little there. This is where I got to be careful because when it's rounding out and hitting here, that's when it can lose its break on the glue. And if you're wondering what kind of glue I use hot glue. You can use wood glue. The nice thing about hot glue is you can heat it up again, and it's very easy to remove. So I can reuse this face plate over and over. I have a feeling I'm going to be outside being sprayed with them because my wife's not going to let me in the house with all this dust and stuff on me. I got this flat spot. I think I'd like to take that down and make this actually round. So I'm going to try and take that out there. So let's go with it. Can you hear me now, guys? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me now. Hey, Mike. Okay, you can hear me now? Okay. Yeah, my mic, I just bought these mics, and yeah, they may not have been full charged yet. I don't know. I see why. You were supposed to take that little piece of plastic out there before you charge them up. Oh, well, live and learn. Anyway, okay, so there they are. I hope you didn't lose my voice too long ago. And after this, we're gonna do next week. We're gonna do something small. Let me see if I can get it for you here. I was sent this mandrel, and I gotta say, this mandrel here is about twice as heavy as the mandrel that I use, and it's very well made. It's by BM Wood Turnings, and I'm going to put it to use next week because everyone's been asking. I have not turned pins in quite a while, but that doesn't mean I can't do it, and I'll give it a try. I've got plenty of pieces to turn, so I'd kind of like your opinion here. I've got, let's see, I've got cocobolo, eucalyptus, birch, paddock, madrone burl, cherry, walnut, purple heart, bacote, olive, and a few others I don't need to mention right now. But if there's any preference, I got some apple, I got maple. Apple's kind of interesting. This is a piece of apple, and I don't know. It's got little cuts here, so I don't know. I might be able to make it into a piece of into a pen or something. There's a couple different things I was thinking of doing. I do have a kaleidoscope kit, and I was thinking of doing a kaleidoscope, but that's if you haven't done a kaleidoscope in a long time, that is a real project, just so you guys know. So I can't promise I'm going to get to that, but if you have a preference, write it in the comments here, and we'll see what we can do. We're always looking for new ideas and new projects, and I know there's a whole bunch of ideas that came up this last week. Oh, there was one other thing that came up, and I want to do this. This is for Ryan, and we were talking about jam chucks. This is a jam chuck. Okay, the idea, put these away. The idea of a jam chuck is when you're trying to take the tenon off, and you want to put something on there. So usually what I use is some sort of a rubber mat, which I don't have handy at this very moment, but the idea being that you put this, and then you put this on here, you bring up the tailstock, and then you make sure it's just nice and straight, and as it's turning, you can just take your gouge and just run off the edge. And you make a bunch of these for different size bowls. This one is one size, but I've got ones for big bowls, ones for smaller bowls, and you just make several of them. This is just poplar is all this is. I just grabbed a couple pieces of poplar. You can glue two pieces together. You make a tenon out of the back. You can put it on a chuck. This one's on a faceplate, and you can buy these faceplates at Amazon for about $5 each. I have like 4 or 5 of these, and I just use them to make up a whole bunch of these things, and I just never take them off. They're just there permanently. But for the price, I mean, that jam chuck is a really, really, really handy thing to learn to use, and I highly suggest it if you have the chance. Turn yourself a few of different sizes, give them a nice curve, make sure they have a nice finish, and then get some of that rubberized matting that they use all on shelves and so forth, and put that on here, and just a small piece, put it on there, and that just helps kind of hold the bowl. And when you do that, you just bring up the tailstock, and it goes right into the bowl, and it holds it enough that you can turn it while you are using your gouge to take off the tenon. So just another way of doing that. A little safer maybe than using the saw method, but you know, everybody has their own method. Great. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Yes, that's my ugly face. I want to thank everyone for being here today, and I hope you learned a little something. I hope you had a little fun. And if you would please go to the Whacking Shack and watch his live. He should be starting shortly if he hasn't already. Mike, I'm going to let you take it away, kind of pass it on to you. So everybody head on over there. As soon as I get cleaned up here, I'll be going on there too, just to see what Mike's turning. I know he's turning. He was turning a mortar and pestle with a turquoise, crushed turquoise, I believe, inlay in it, and so that should be really, really nice. You might want to take a look at that. So thank you all. If you haven't hit the like button or subscribe, please do that. And we'll see you all next week at 3 o'clock Pacific. Thank you.